Hello, my name is Paul Snyder. I'm the program assistant here at Seacrest Arboretum, and today I'm going to show you how to plant a balled and burlap Christmas tree. Today we happen to have a Norway spruce, which is a very common Christmas tree to find balled and burlap. There's many different types of trees that you can get. You can get different types of spruce, different types of pine, also different species of fir. All make great Christmas trees and also a great addition to your home landscape after the holiday season. This tree was donated to us by our friends down at the Pine Tree Barn. And the first step in planting your balled and burlap Christmas tree, it actually begins before the holiday season. You see, well, you want to pre-dig your hole. You don't want to wait until after the holiday season because by that point the ground is frozen and you won't be able to plant your Christmas tree. So we recommend digging the hole about 2 to 3 times the width of the diameter of the root ball of your tree. And then covering it with mulch or straw to keep it from freezing solid during the season. So the first step after your hole is dug, once you take your tree out of the house after the holidays, is locating the uppermost lateral root of the root ball. This is basically known as the root flare, so where the bottom of the tree begins to flare out and you begin to see some root tissue. So to do that, you want to pull back some of the burlap. Okay, once you have the burlap, you can use a small hand trowel. You can even use your hand to gently scrape away some of the soil and locate that root flare. And here we have it. It's right here. You can see a root coming off the trunk. And there's our root collar, root flare. So now once we know where that root flare is, we want to measure the depth of the ball from that root flare to the bottom of the ball. All right, it looks like it's 20 inches. And now we want to measure a hole and make sure that our hole is the same depth. And to do that, you want to use a rake or something else that's straight across. You don't want to use a shovel, simply for the fact that a shovel has a little bit of a bend in it, a little bit of a crook. It's not going to lay level across the hole. It's not going to give you an accurate reading of how deep the hole truly is. So we're going to lay our rake across the hole. And then we're going to just measure the depth. All right, our hole is actually right where it needs to be, so we don't have to dig any more out. So our tree is pretty much ready to plant now. All right, now that we know the depth of the hole, we can begin by cutting off some of this wire basket. You don't want to leave the wire basket on the ball. Per industry standards, also becomes a hazard as the tree ages because that wire basket can actually heave out of the ground, can become a trip hazard. There can be sharp edges that can injure somebody. That's one of the main reasons that we like to remove the basket. So we're going to cut some of the wires off. This will make it easier to get the rest of the basket off once we get it in the hole. All right, we're also going to bend up some of these pieces of wire just to make it easier to get it out of the hole later on. All right, now that the bottom part of the basket is off, we can also remove some of the burlap off this bottom portion. And really the best thing to do is to make a few slits, so that way once it's in the hole you can actually pull the rest of it off. We don't necessarily want to move or remove all the burlap right now because the ball could fall apart and you'd end up having a bare root tree, which wouldn't be the best thing. So now that my burlap is cut and my basket has been removed, now we can put the tree in the hole. So once you get the tree in the hole, to help stabilize it, you want to throw a little bit of soil in around it. And once we add the soil, then we'll actually make sure that our tree is straight. So now that we've stabilized the ball of the tree, we can now just make sure that our tree is straight in all directions. And then once we straighten our tree, we can add a little bit more soil and then pull the rest of the basket and the burlap off. Now we're going to go around and we're going to cut the rest of the wire basket off. We're also going to cut the twine that's at the top of the root ball. That helps to hold the basket together and helps to hold the root ball intact. So we'll start by cutting the twine. All right, so we have the twine off. Now we can cut our basket. All right, now that our basket has been removed, we can also remove the rest of the burlap. All right, so now that we've removed the burlap, we can go through and we can peel back a little bit of the ball that's been mounted up when the tree was dug and also when it was laid over. The ball kind of squished, and so that's what we see right here. So we'll go through, we'll scrape the rest of that off. We will also double check to make sure that our tree is still straight, because during the process of removing the basket and the burlap, sometimes your tree can shift a little bit, and you should always double check that before you do the final backfill. So yeah, it needs to come this way just a little bit. Now that we have our tree straightened back up, we can now begin backfilling around the rest of the tree. As we go, we're going to compact it a little bit to help tamp the soil back down. You can use your foot, or you can even use the butt end of a shovel. This is where it's helpful to have your garden rake or your hard rake to help smooth out the soil and level it up around the base of the tree. All right, now that our tree is in the ground, there's one more thing that we need to do, and that is stake it. If we don't stake it, because it is an evergreen, it has a fairly large canopy, the winter winds could push it over and actually push it out of the ground this winter. So we want to help to secure that by installing a couple of metal T-post stakes that will help hold the tree in place. All right, so ideally you want to stake it against the wind, perpendicular to the direction of the wind. So our wind is coming pretty much this way out of the northwest. So we want to stake it off to the northeast to help secure it. All right, to secure our tree to the stakes, we're going to use this black plastic. It's actually staking material that we get from A.M. Leonard. Works out very well to stake the tree. We're going to make a loop in the center. On the trunk, you won't be able to see that, and actually lock this material around the trunk, so that way the trunk can still move freely, and this isn't tied up against the trunk. That actually allows the root system to grow better and to become stronger. If the trunk can move a little bit, the plant produces a much stronger root system than if we made the stake and the tie tight around the tree. The roots would not be as strong because they wouldn't have to try to resist the wind at all. I'm going to pull the tie slightly tight. Because remember, you have a loop in the center that's loosely around the trunk, so that really helps to hold the tree in place. And that's how you stake your Christmas tree. Now your Christmas tree has been planted.